In this video, we're going to talk about what progress can look like for men experiencing erectile dysfunction post-prostatectomy. Over the past decade, I've worked with thousands of men recovering erectile function after prostate cancer treatment through my website, A Touchy Subject, and my private membership, The Hub. In my experience, many of them assume nothing is happening when they're on that erection recovery journey, but they're not seeing full erections yet, but progress can be really subtle. Today, let's talk about 3 signs that your nerves may be waking up. Let's start with a quick bit of background. What are these nerves that we're talking about? So these nerves are the cavernous nerves, otherwise known as the erection nerves. These are nerves that are very, very delicate. Think of a very, very fine, thin piece of wet tissue paper, and they're embedded onto the prostate. So when the surgeon is performing a prostatectomy, the removal of the prostate, they are looking to spare as many of those nerves as they possibly can. But even in that procedure, where the nerves are spared, just the light and heat alone from surgery can send these nerves into a traumatized state. So they're there, but they're offline. The process of these nerves coming back online can take about 2 to 4 years, and it's called neuropraxia. If this is the situation that you are in, if you're post-prostate surgery, I imagine you might be asking yourself, well, what does progress actually look like on this journey? Are there different stages of recovery, or do erections just suddenly come back one day? So in my experience of working with men in this space, I've heard that it's actually much more gradual, and there's a lot of subtle signs. It's very rare I've heard of anybody where their erections have suddenly just come back one day. Because of that, I think it's so important that we do talk about what those subtle signs might be, and that you celebrate every sign along the way. One of the first signs I often hear about is a change in sensation. So this might be just increased sensitivity in the penis. I often hear about a tingling sensation that some men experience before they notice that progress starts to increase. The second sign leading on from that might be a slight fullness or maybe partial erection, so some slight swelling, but without maybe the stiffness that you're used to before surgery. In fact, any kind of engorgement that you notice from arousal is a really positive sign, something to be celebrated. That can in fact be a really great time to introduce a full dose of a PDE5 tablet, so something like Viagra or Cialis. Of course, only if your doctor advises that that's right for you, as they have your full medical history. In the penile rehabilitation space, this is sometimes called a challenger dose. So the idea here is it's actually challenging the nerve endings. And this is because a PDE5 isn't going to work at all unless there are some signals being sent out by those nerve endings. So if you were experiencing some engorgement from arousal, that's possibly a signal those nerve endings are starting to come back online. Add on a challenger dose and see if that produces even more engorgement. Third sign of erection nerve recovery are nocturnal erections. Erections that occur during sleep are often the very first place that nerves will respond, and that's because cortisol is at its lowest during deep sleep, and cortisol is erection kryptonite. Of course, you may not notice these nocturnal erections for very good reason. It's sort of like me asking you to recall what you dreamt about last night between 2 to 4 a.m. Morning erections as well are not actually a very clear indicator of nocturnal activity. In fact, the erection measuring device ADAM sensor analysed 20,000 nights of data from users who were wearing their device, and they found that only 38% of the nights where there were strong, healthy erections corresponded to erections upon waking. So how are you supposed to know what your nocturnals are up to? Well, speaking of those erection measuring devices, that actually could be a game-changing approach for your rehabilitation toolkit. These devices are quite new to the market, so ADAM Sensor was the first one back in 2020, and they are literally like a Fitbit for your bits. One device you might consider is called the FirmTech Tech Ring. I have quite a few reviews of that in the Hub membership, including a live demonstration video of how it works. Another device is the ADAM Sensor, which is by ADAM Health and was mentioned in that story just before. And currently I have a member of the Hub who's reviewing that device and will be giving us a demo video of that quite soon. You can find that in the Hub membership. At this point, I would love to know if you've been using either of those rings. Please leave a comment below the video. I'd love to know if these are helping you monitor your progress. So to wrap up, the stages of erection recovery and what that progress looks like, I feel are a big missing gap in this conversation, but it's something that every man I talk to post-prostate surgery wants to know. In the Hub, we're gathering case studies around this through our forum, through our expert webinar series, and also our recovery interviews with gentlemen who are in the membership. So if this topic is on your mind right now, your next best step is to join us in that conversation over in the Hub. One final note, just in case this is the position you're in, I have noticed that plateaus and even regression can be normal parts of this recovery pathway. There are so many factors in life that affect erectile function, and nerve recovery is just one part of that puzzle. So to summarise, subtle signs of progress matter, and don't dismiss those early markers of nerve recovery. Work with them to amplify those early signals. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please like, subscribe, and check out our free 6 Key Principles Erection Recovery course and a Hub membership too to get an even deeper dive.